Hi guys, how are you doing? So, if you have been following me on social media, you must have seen that the card a day readings that I have been doing this month have been from this super awesome deck called the Bohemian Gothic Tarot. It is a lovely deck, and I'm going to be reviewing it for you today. Hey guys, how you doing? This is Madhvi from TaroticallySpeaking.com, your tarot blogger, deck and book reviewer, and maker of these awesome videos on YouTube. I'm also a tarot card reader and mentor, and an author of this awesome book on tarot, which is available on Amazon, both paperback and Kindle, all over the world. Now, all of these links and more are in the description, so do check that out. And at the end of this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for more such awesome tarot videos. I don't know if many of you have seen this video I made a while back where I talked about how to go about learning a deck or the second tarot deck that you have or something along those lines. If I'll find that video and I'll link it up top here. But one of the points I made in that video is that if your deck comes with a book, right, then definitely make it a point to read that book. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I guess you guys may have realized this, that the box looks a little worse for the wear, whereas the book looks pretty shiny. And this is what happened. Where I bought this deck many years ago. I think when I first moved to the United States, this is one of the first decks I bought. So you can say roughly, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, right? And it says also on the cover here of the box, this is the second edition of the deck. See that? So, printed in China. Oops. Anyhow, the point is, this is the second edition of the deck. I genuinely forgot to go see which edition is going on right now, but I'm sure it's not the second edition. And you can see this, I've played with this deck because for a very long time, this was the the only other sort of deck that I had. Or no, I had a bunch of other decks, but you know what I'm saying. This, in terms of like a dark themed, gothic themed deck that I had, this one was the one. And I have been looking for the book, that came with the deck, but it was not available back then when I purchased the box, the cards. So I waited and I waited and I waited. I signed up for their mailing list. And finally, I think this is for which edition? Does it say? Well, in any case, finally, a few months ago, I think, the book was available to be bought. And so I bought it because, and let me just tell you this, because I've spent quite a few, I think the deck comes with a little white book, yes, but this book is a treasure trove. Okay, so before we get into the cards, let's get into the book. And let me tell you this, if you are planning on picking up any of the decks that are made by Baba Studio, Karen Mahoney, and usually they are illustrated by Alex Yukalov, right? Just I know it can be a little bit expensive, but invest in the book. If the book is not available, sign up for the mailing list, and the moment it becomes available, buy it, right? And I have, I think, a couple more decks from this company. I have the Tarot of Prague, and I also have the Victorian Romantic Tarot deck. So, and I have, with the Prague Tarot, I believe I ended up getting the book and the deck together. And again, for the Victorian Romantic, I had to buy the book separately. But trust me, in each and every of these decks, I have found that the book is a treasure trove of information. Let me show you, right? And this one came signed, so yay me. Right? So there's like a little bit of a write up, and this is something very interesting. The origin story for this lovely deck is, I'll just shorten it. While they were working for the Tarot of Prague, and later the Victorian Romantic Tarot, and also the Fairy Tale Tarot, which are also different decks that Baba Studio has put out, they came across images which didn't quite fit with any of those decks, but had a more darker, more gothic sort of feel to it, right? This is a deck with which to explore the shadow sides of life, the wisdom and truth that may lie in nightmare, dark imagination, and the fear of the supernatural, right? And it's very interesting. So they found a bunch of images that came from this period, but a little bit more darker, and while they were creating the other three decks, and so they kept feeling that there's another deck there and that's how the Bohemian Gothic tarot deck was born. Ultimately it came to life, right? And it evolved during the many months we worked on it. So this is really worth reading, because if you've seen the other decks, you'll kind of make it. It makes sense. And then they've given a list of some typical Gothic elements. You have stormy weather, strong winds, endless rain, howling wolves, ruined castles, mad family members, women as victims under threat, right? Corruption, degradation, forbidden sexuality, men tempted into contracts with the devil, potions and stuff, unexplained footsteps, shadows and knocking sounds, doors and handles that move with no obvious reason, foreigners, exotic and unfamiliar beliefs and magical practices, cruel aristocrats from ancient families, men who dabble in magic and occult with disastrous consequences, hidden objects that prove to be hazardous when brought to light. So, these are the typical Gothic elements, and they have been used like in the card imagery to great, amazing appeal. So, there's a little bit about, a short history of the Gothic. And trust me, this is a book which will really get you into the whole ethos of this deck, right? A note about how this book has been structured, a short history of the tarot, learning the tarot. This is very, very interesting stuff. The reading styles, spread styles, right? Spreads, how to use a significator, seeing a pattern, making a story, beginning a reading, reader in position of trust. So they don't just say, oh, yeah, here you go. No, they leave you with a lot to take in. I would say, I mean, this, if you were to buy, and if you were really into the Gothic theme of things, and this would make the ideal second deck to pick up. Okay? But if you're really into the Gothic theme and you want to just go with that, then this would even be the ideal first deck to pick up. Just saying. Because, the book, but if you're picking it up, buy the book first with it. So, then you have some sample spreads. You have a 1-card draw. They have all kinds of examples here. Then the 3-card spread, 5-card spread, the Prague threshold spread. I think there's a secret fear spread, the vampire spread. Right, so how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different spreads. Easy, right? And then we get into the major arcana. Here we have a color picture, and I like how this book is in a glossy paper, really smooth to the touch. We have a color photograph or image of the card itself. We have the lighter or more conventional meanings, which maybe you can use for the upright, and the darker shadow or more hidden meanings, you can use that for the reverse if you use reverse, right? Then there's a little write-up there about the Fool, and also how you can relate it to the very Gothic sort of culture in a way. Then I like, this is the best part, like some further ways to consider this card. Is the fool shown here a real life person or a shadow or a phantom? Does he represent reality or a more shadowy hopes and fears? The Bohemian Gothic Tower card also shows a scene of gargoyles under the moonlight and high rooftops. How might the tower and the fool relate to one another in a reading? See, this is where the real learning will happen. Like, these are very interesting journaling prompts if you're getting into this deck. And what I also like, because this is something, because the deck, the imagery, it comes from real places, right? In the books, right, if you're really getting into the imagery, you want to know, where did this imagery come from? And here you see gargoyles from St. Vitus Cathedral, Prague Castle. And this is the gargoyle here. And go back and you'll see that's what that fool is standing on, right? So they really get into it. Like, you don't just learn about the tarot card itself, you get into the theme, the ethos, you have your keywords and meanings, you also have some really interesting journal prompts, sorry, and you get information about where those image elements have come from. And I believe that all this makes this book a treasure trove, because not so much with this one, I guess, but if you're getting the Tarot of Prague, for instance, the pictures are inspired and taken from actual places and statues and landmarks that are based in Prague. So they also do a tour, I believe, where they take you around these places, right? It's very, very interesting. So in a similar vein, they've done the same thing, right? Remember, the imagery for this deck was acquired while they were creating that deck and the Victorian Romantic deck and the Fairy Tale Tarot deck. So all of this has been gathered, and because it didn't fit with that ethos, but more with the Gothic theme, that's where it kind of went. And so it's from a real location. There's real stuff there. And so we see a lot of this. Some places there's even like, oh wow, this is the best part, right? You have these poems, right, and other information that comes sometimes. It's brilliant. It's like they really, 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 really spent a lot of work and a lot of effort and time and study, and they've really, so that's why I'm saying this could very well be a very good first deck for someone who is really into the Gothic theme, and or someone who is into the Gothic theme but wants to start proper with the Rider Waite, and then you can come with this deck as a second deck. Brilliant. So before I start gushing too much, once you have the major arcana, then you have the minor arcana, right? And see, this is interesting. One's from a Gothic perspective, so I guess they do that for each suit. So this is interesting too. And then we have the same set of information and knowledge. We have the card picture and the lighter meanings, darker meanings, a little write-up, some further ways to consider this card. And depending on the card, sometimes there's more information. Where did this imagery come from, right? All of this, brilliant stuff. See, and so on and so on. See, cups from a Gothic perspective. So it's for each and every suit. They've really gone into it. And this is good because this helps you as the card reader to really get into that ethos. So let's say even if you were not into Gothic stuff, you would find a lot of information here that would help you get into the theme of this deck, into the ethos of this deck, into the world of the deck's images, right? Which are brilliant. And it goes on till about 220 odd pages, and then of course we have a bibliography at the end. So this, I love books that do that. Right? There you go. Brilliant. And again, it's a very lovely book, soft, glossy finish. And trust me, even though it looks not that thick, it is a treasure trove. It's 200 plus pages of lovely, lovely, lovely treasure of information. And I figured this book deserves more credit. I think so. And the image is of the strength card, clearly, right? So that is also the image on the box, which brings us to the deck. Right. So although this box is a little worse for the wear, because I've played with it for over like nearly a decade now, but you can see now it's actually it's still functioning proper. It hasn't broken down. And it is the second edition. Look at all this. It's a very sturdy box, clearly, and you can open it like so. You have the LWB, which is what I relied on for a number of years till I got the book, right? So the LWB also is pretty decent. We have a couple of spreads here, and then we get into the cards. And we do have the lighter, the upright and the darker meanings, or upright and reverse meanings here, basically. Till the very last page. Yeah, so this is good. Now let me take the cards out of the box, and let me move the camera close by so you can see the images much better. All right, so here we are. This is just the cover card, like I like to call it my bookend cards, which basically has the card deck name and the deck creators, Karen Mahoney and Alex Yukolov. And I believe I think Alex Yukolov is the artist. Or there you go, in the book, in the LWB, and I'm thinking it's also there in the book. Written and designed by Karen Mahoney, illustrated by Alex Yukolov. There you go. Right? So it's beautiful. So this is just the cover page, and of course, cover card, sorry. And of course, this is the card back, which is reversible, which is what I like about this. Right? Ta-da! Right? So upright reverse, it's brilliant. And there are words here. Memento mori. The deck also comes with an extra card, which I have put at the bottom of the deck. And so occasionally I may use it, occasionally I may not use it in my reading. And this is an image that many of us may have seen on various social media feeds for one reason or the other. And the card is very nicely titled Memento Mori. And I just basically Googled the meaning of the word or the phrase, and basically what it says here is, in Latin, this phrase translates to remember that you have to die. Okay, so everything dies, right? And it also says over here, noun, memento mori, an object serving as a warning or reminder of death, such as a skull. So it's pretty cool, right? And totally goes with the theme of this deck. So I like it. Yeah, memento mori. Remember that you will die. We all will die. This is pretty interesting and very intense and very much in keeping with the deck's theme. So you can use this maybe as a alternative death card, perhaps, I don't know, or you can use this as an extra card, or you can just you put it as hide. All right, so here we go. Let's begin the flip through. This is the meat of the whole video, I guess. And here we go. magician. Look at that. Huh? Pretty intense. It's like the person that they're looking at is you can see the reflection in the mirror. It's like a skeleton. Interesting, no? So just a little thing to note, the card thickness is pretty good. I mean, 10 years later, these cards are still pretty good. Just saying. They haven't like worn off. And trust me, I have done plenty of readings with this deck for myself. And I've used it for, storytelling purposes. Or for when I'm plotting my story and that sort of thing. So, because I was very heavily into writing those kind of short stories back in the day. So, yeah. God. I looked at this lover's card girl and she reminded me of none other than, oh my goodness, that girl from the Twilight movies. I think Kristen Stewart, right? she has that face. Oh my goodness, and also so slender, yeah. Just saying. Because I don't think those movies were out when this deck was created. Right. The image of the strength card, which is on the book cover and on the box. Look at that. Amazing. So powerful. You got to love this hermit. This is a very different interpretation of the Wheel of Fortune, because what you can see is that this person is like, I don't know, she's consulting a gypsy fortune teller. This is a very different, normally Wheel of Fortune will talk about, the cycles of fortune, going round and round, but here this character, the woman, is actually consulting with a fortune teller who's talking about what cycle is probably it's talking about what cycle is going on and so on. She's listening, she's paying attention. It's good. Hangman. Gosh. Wow. This is a very interesting devil card. I think this one is shooting this one with something this. Hang on, let me hold it up. Do you see that syringe there? Right? Back then, I believe taking opium or morphine or whatever was quite an interesting thing, and I think people used to. It wasn't like normal, but it wasn't like I don't think it was like a crime, right? So, The Tower. Dun dun dun. This one, the scary tower. The Star. I love this moon card. I really do. This is one of the few primal and yet very calming sort of moon cards that are out there. I don't know. I just love it. And the fun thing, again, notice this detail, the crescent moon. You'd expect a full moon on the moon card, but here we have a crescent moon. Interesting, no? The sun card. This kid gives me the heebie-jeebies. Honestly speaking, I was like, what the hell? Then I first saw it, but then I'm like, oh my god, this is so much. Check him out. Check his expression. Please be clear. It's so much in keeping with the theme of this day. Now, Judgment. And of course, the World card. Let's go for the suits. Ace of Wands. Of Wands. God, I love this 3, right? Like this dawn happening, and this, I think the 3 of Wands, even with the very broken down mansion or whatever, castle or whatever behind her, there's more hope in this card. I think, especially with the imagery. 4. Battling with ghosts. 6. The very interesting 10 of Wands again. This gives me the, the 7 of Swords feel, really, but it's the 10 of Wands. It's pretty intense. He's carrying a burden and he's kind of going. Page of Wands. Knight of Wands. Queen of Wands. Party girl. I like the color of her dress. And the King of Wands. Now the Suit of Swords. Ace of Swords. Oh, you gotta love this 4 of Swords, don't you? Oh my goodness, look at that one. Huh? Oof, this 5 of Swords gives me all sorts of feels, right? Specifically from a very storytelling point of view, like there's just like endless feels right here. Oh, look at this 6 of Swords. This is one of those cards I look at right before I make a decision if I want to buy the deck. I don't know why. And this card was just like, wow, right? It is like it is so different, really, in terms of the colors, but it fits right in somehow. Very interesting. And of course, your 7 of Swords. 8 of Swords. This is interesting. She's got mice all over her. Like, ew. Ew. The 9 of Swords. This is a very, again, one of those cards, right? Where you can really get into the imagery and boy, the stories it will tell. 10 of Swords. again, the element of the new dawn still there. It's brilliant. Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. And finally, see, now suit. And notice this cup is, I think, made of bones. And these are skulls all around. Woohoo! Right? Again, this Two of Cups gives me all kinds of weird, creepy feels. But see, this is the whole point. This whole deck has that, remember earlier the book talked about the very specific Gothic thematic elements, and this deck has really got it, like all the way. And it's not just bringing it, bringing it or creating it just by, making it like a darker imagery in terms of black and white more, or toning it that way. No, there's lots more, really a lot more that went into creating all the images and the look and everything, right? And bringing it to life in more real ways. So, I mean, clearly you can tell I'm in love with this deck. I have been for like ages, and it's been on my wish list also for ages. And so when I moved here, and I think after I moved here, and the first bit of money that I saved, I ordered this deck. That's how it happened. Oh gosh. 6 of Cups. Oh, this 7 of Cups again. Oh ho. Oh ho. 8. Nine of Cups. And 10 of Cups. And I'm really sorry if you're hearing any different noises in the background. It's just, the noises coming from upstairs, the kitchen and stuff. Okay. So we have Page of Cups. Knight of Cups. See the stone sort of buildings, yeah? God, you're gonna love this Queen of Cups, right? King of And then finally, the Suit of Pentacles. This is the Ace. I like how they've used the wheels of the bicycle to create that whole, that typical lemniscate part of the imagery that is always, there in the Two of Pentacles. The 3. Frankenstein's monster. 4. 5. 6. The 7 of Pentacles. Check out these. 8. It's a doll, isn't it? 9. Page. Knight. Oh, there's a headless horseman here. Think, right? Oh yeah, yeah. Check it out. Dun dun dun. The queen. My goodness, this. Do you see the painting she's looking at? Check her expressions, right? And then, of course, the King of Pentacles. So, this was the brilliant and awesome Bohemian Gothic tarot deck. And if you want to see how this deck sort of, performs, you can follow me on my social media, on my Instagram, on my Facebook, on my Twitter, and see the way I do my card a day readings with it. So, that way you can see for yourself how this deck sort of, plays in everyday life. So even if today we are not in a Gothic sort of world, still this deck can be used for everyday readings that are applicable in today's modern world, so to speak. So if you want to see how that works out, you can follow me and see how I do my card a day readings, so you can see that you can form the connection. But I will wholeheartedly 100% wholeheartedly recommend that you get this deck, and moreover you also get the book that comes with this deck. I believe there may still be copies of this book available, and or you can just sign up on their mailing list and wait for when the latest editions come out, because they keep putting out more editions. I guess they wait for a certain demand to happen before they do that. They are a smallish sort of studio, and they all of that, but it's just brilliant. And it's worth it. It is totally worth it. So go for it. And there might be a different edition. And usually what they do is when they put out a different edition, they make some changes, maybe some images, maybe with the the gilding. There are versions that are a little bit expensive. Some are regular. You basically based on your budget. But no matter what, get the book. Right, I will always tell you this, especially with this, the decks that come out of, the Baba store. Make sure you get the deck and the book that goes with the deck. Okay, because trust me, the books are a treasure trove of information that will only add value to your knowledge and understanding of the cards, images, origins, and the ethos of that whole theme and world that they belong to. Okay, so I guess that's it from me right now. I will see you again soon with my next video. Until then, stay good, be good, and play with your cards. Bye now. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Please give this video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where I post my card a day readings every day. You can also order a reading for yourself, or you can learn how to read tarot from me, of course. All of these links are in the description, so check that out. I will see you again in my next video. Until then, stay good, be good, and play with your cards. Bye now.